Our next story takes us to Gaza, where Israel has reignited hostilities. Now, just days after deadly airstrikes that killed at least 400 Palestinians, Israel restarted its brutal ground assault in the Gaza Strip. Israel bombarded Gaza and pressed its ground operations after issuing what it called the last warning for Palestinians to return hostages and to remove Hamas from power. Israeli forces have restarted ground operations in the central and southern Gaza Strip. The latest offensive comes after weeks of reduced fighting. Reports from Gaza say over 70 people were killed by Israel in the pre-dawn attacks. And with that, the latest death toll since Tuesday stands over 500. Now, yesterday, Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz issued a video statement.
Residents of Gaza, this is the last warning. The first sin war destroyed Gaza. The airstrike against Hamas terrorists was only the first step. What is coming will be more difficult, and you will pay the price. Soon, the evacuation of residents from combat zones will begin again. If they don't return the Israeli hostages and Hamas is not being removed from Gaza, Israel will act with force like you haven't seen before.
In this message, he makes it clear that something big is coming. This was the warning, a message of sorts, that ground assault is about to start. Now, Israel's demand was clear: return hostages and remove Hamas. The Israeli army says its forces are pushing deeper into central and southern Gaza. Troops have re-entered areas they previously withdrew from, and this includes the strategic Netzarim Corridor, a key strip of land that divides northern Gaza from the south. Israel says the goal is to create a buffer zone between the north and the south. That will effectively is put Israel under control of an area, and it is aimed to prevent Hamas from getting too close to Israeli territory. Now, as Israel once again rejected international calls to stay committed to the ceasefire, Gazans were left trapped between falling airstrikes and closed borders.
They were sitting in the tent, and a missile fell on them. He and his mother were martyred. They left me. My wife was pregnant. The fetus was also martyred.
Khan Yunis and Rafah especially are seeing renewed killings. Both of these places are already packed, filled with Palestinians who had fled the north. A United Nations staff member was killed and 5 others were injured in fresh Israeli bombings. Since the start of the war in 2023, at least 28 UN employees have been killed.
Secretary General was deeply saddened and shocked to learn of the death of a United Nations Office for Project Services staff member when 2 UN guest houses in Deir el-Balah were hit in strikes. 5 other UN personnel were seriously injured. The locations of all UN premises are known to the parties to the conflict, who are bound by international law to protect them and maintain their absolute inviolability.
Israel is facing growing calls to cease its actions in the Palestinian Strip. Protests have broken out in New York, Tel Aviv and Spain. Thousands in Jerusalem took part in a rally to oppose Netanyahu's orders. Israel is calling its decision a military necessity, and Hamas isn't backing down either. The price of this fleeting ceasefire is human lives. Until both sides confront each other and decide to find a solution, Gaza will remain a place where war keeps writing the headlines.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister Lakshman.
Good afternoon.
Making headlines in India well before you landed here. New Delhi has raised concerns in the recent past vis-a-vis the Khalistani separatists that operate in New Zealand. How do you propose to address these concerns?
In our democracy, we believe in the freedom of speech.
Organizations like the Al-Qaeda or ISIS were to hold a referendum in New Zealand, something related to one of your Western partners. Would you say the same?
We have very well-defined laws in our democracy.
No specific conversation on Khalistan on this visit.
It was raised with me. I also raised back our position.
Are you willing to be open to these concerns from New Delhi?
As I keep coming back to you to say, we have strong laws in our system.
Do you think that Ukraine is at its weakest position?
This war is not about Ukraine.
Do you believe that your president was insulted? Yes or no question. Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Diplomacy will work?
Yes.
Do you think Russia will give up the territory if there is no ceasefire? Do you propose to keep fighting?
We are ready to resist.
Do you think there will be peace?
Many countries gave us 3 days.
President Trump said you don't have any cards.
We do not have another choice.
How do you keep fighting?
You ask me once again the same question.
Because you've not answered my question.
We have enough capacities to keep fighting.